Well, I think we're at a good point to get started. Hopefully, everybody's feeling good. Everybody's got a cup of coffee in front of them. Their lunch is at their desks or sitting out on a patio. I know it's beautiful weather out in the 80s. Everybody's cooped up inside, unfortunately. But good afternoon and welcome to today's discussion exploring the power of skills-based hiring. Oh, great job with the poll, everybody. Got some great results. We can go over them a little bit later, but um, we're going to stop the poll. But again, welcome to the discussion. We're going to be exploring today the power of skills-based hiring and apprenticeships in the entertainment industry. We thank you all for taking the time to join us for a few minutes to take a break from lunch. Please do snag that coffee, get settled, because we have an action-packed agenda for you today. My name is Phil Minardi. I have the unique pleasure of being one of the co-founders at a company called BuildWithin. BuildWithin is a technology company that helps organizations, companies, governments start, manage, and scale on-the-job training programs like apprenticeships, fellowships, upskilling, reskilling. And we are also very proud recipients of the Apprenticeship Building America grant from the U.S. Department of Labor. And I say proud with great intent because that gives us the opportunity to go out across the country and help organizations figure out how to fill that talent gap with modern apprenticeships. And I know I'm joined by a lot of folks today on the call, in the audience, as well as on the panel that have been leading the way as it relates to on-the-job training, reskilling, and apprenticeships. So thank you all for joining us. Before I hand it over to my man Johnny, I just want to lay a little bit of the groundwork. We are going to be hearing, and I'm going to toot Johnny's horn and Janice's horn a little bit here, from leaders at truly the bleeding edge of deploying incredible pathways for individuals to leverage on-the-job training and apprenticeships to advance their career across Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. We are also very blessed and privileged, as you can see with this amazing panel, to have a few apprentices and pre-apprentices who've leveraged the model to sustain their growth in the multifaceted industry that is today's entertainment industry. But I don't want to steal any of Johnny's thunder, but one last housekeeping item for all of us is if you're in the audience and you hear something interesting from anybody that's talking and you have a question that comes to mind, please feel free to drop that question in the Q&A button here at the bottom of the screen. We are going to be taking some questions at the end of the chat, and we'd love to hear from you and answer some of those as we go along. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to my man, Johnny Amiri from Venice Arts, to kick us off and to set the stage for this discussion.
Thank you so much, Phil. I love setting the stage. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm John Amiri. I'm the director of Venice Arts Center for Creative Workforce Equity. And I'm excited to have us all gathered here today for our conversation. This session is really going to be about reimagining talent pipelines. How can we create more accessible and equitable pathways, opportunities for entry-level roles. First, you'll hear from NBC, Johnny Sills, who is a true leader in this space. Behind NBC Launch is the Creative Impact Labs, which have created groundbreaking apprenticeship pathways and opportunities. They also have great on-the-job training experiences and entry-level roles for new talent. You will also hear from BuildWithin, one of our critical allies in the apprenticeship space. We use BuildWithin pathways ourselves to hire our current program coordinator. In the arts, we know that this is a model that works. And we're going to go a deeper dive into our personal pre-apprenticeship program, how that works. You'll hear from our panel of alumni who will be sharing their stories. And at the end, we'll have a time for your questions. So as Philip said, please drop your questions in the Q&A chat throughout our program. But first, we're going to be starting with a quick video that focuses on NBC. This sizzle reel is going to be representing a range of NBC shows and productions that our pre-apprentices have had the opportunity to work on. Once they complete our program. So let's fire that one up.
Love it. Thank you, Johnny.
This time we're trying to make you forget who you are and where you came from. Don't let it do that.
No, you'll never see me hesitate. The world thinks he's a miracle man because of me. I keep it sharper than
Listen, we're in the big leagues now. Pressure is a privilege.
taking it higher, out in the fire. Pick your best shot.
Things are, the end time is here.
Finally.
Yeah.
I wouldn't underestimate the Umbrella Academy.
You guys better show the world who we are.
Yes, queen.
Things are bigger and louder than ever before.
Let's go, ladies.
Where are we going?
The top, Gloria. Ever heard of it?
You know what the problem with the truth is?
People can't handle it. All we can try to get is justice.
This job brings people together. Let's go back to work.
That's what we fight for. We fight for life. So if I'm doing it right.
I think I feel a hug coming on. It's time for the big finale. It's your heart out, Selena.
Amazing. With that, I'd love to, and amazing to hear about the impact of pre-apprentices and apprentices on all those programs. Janice, I'd love to turn the floor over to you.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Janice Sills, and I'm the Senior Director of DEI Production and Creative Initiatives at NBCUniversal. I just love that sizzle reel. As you just saw, we're a company of storytellers, and we tell stories that are complex, nuanced, and distinctive, stories that reflect us all, and we truly have something for everyone. I'm a part of the NBCU launch team, and we lead the inclusion efforts across NBC Universal's entertainment television portfolio. So this includes NBC, Bravo, and Peacock, in addition to our television studio, Universal Studio Group. So our company has a long-standing relationship with Venice Arts that started with the NBC Universal Creative Impact Lab. And nearly a year ago, our team started working with Venice Arts as one of our sourcing partners for our NBCU Launch Production Assistant Initiative, which provides access and opportunity to experienced PA talent on our television productions. The Venice Arts team has introduced us to qualified candidates who are graduates of their pre-apprenticeship program. And now, a year later, we have had several PAs work on scripted, unscripted, and live event productions across our series, including The Real Housewives of Orange County, the comedy Happy's Place starring Reba McEntire, as well as Live from The Red Carpet. That includes award shows like the Grammys and the Oscars and the Emmys, just to name a few. They have all received overwhelmingly positive feedback from their supervisors, and several PAs have been asked back for the next season or event, which we love to hear. We're really proud to partner with Venice Arts in our shared mission of providing access to talented young storytellers. And we look forward to continuing work together for years to come. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the Venice Arts team to speak more on their programs.
Thank you so much, Janice. And thank you again to the whole NBC Launch team for everything that you do for us as a partner and as a leader in the space. As mentioned before, I am with Venice Arts, and we've had an incredible honor of serving the Los Angeles area for over 30 years. But starting in 2020 is when we began our workforce development work, and specifically our program, the Digital Storytelling Pre-Apprenticeship. Um, we are funded by the Department of Economic Opportunity. It's an 8-week experience designed to prepare our pre-apprentices, particularly from underrepresented communities, to enter the world of media and entertainment in entry-level roles. So we get people into development, production, and also post-production with an emphasis on becoming production assistants specifically. We currently place graduates at NBC Universal, PBS SoCal, and Sony, and a number of other outstanding smaller production companies like Tremolo Productions, Cosmo Street Editorial, This Machine, and Grainy Pictures, to name a few. We also partner with organizations that aren't traditionally production companies or in the media sphere. But they're just trying to grow their online footprint. This includes nonprofits, educational institutions, startups. That's where our pre-apprentices come in. Over 8 weeks, they learn how to create marketing content. They produce short documentaries as well as narrative projects. And they also learn how to build their soft skills, how to communicate in a professional setting, how to problem solve, how to collaborate. And they gain hands-on portfolio-based experience as well. And this really gets them ready for those entry-level industry roles. It's fast-paced, it's 8 weeks, but they are coming in here, some of them who've had extensive experience in the film space, others who are more intro, but they all leave with the same ability to really excel in their roles once they leave Venice Arts, and we stay involved as well to help ground them in their career and help them from moving on to different roles. So we help them get their first job, their second, their third, and we keep being there as a mentor along the way. So I'll now pass this over to my colleague, Julie Fan, who's helped me manage this program really on the ground and can speak to how the impact and how the structure of our program has really impacted our participants.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Ajani covered most of it, but you know, something that's really important is, as we all know, it's so difficult to break into this industry as is already. And then there's the layers of marginalization, whether that's where you're at, whether that's transportation, whether that's schooling or whatever it is. And so we work with our students hands-on to make sure that we, break through those resources and we really equalize the playing ground. And so just to dive more into the details, like for example, the soft skills workshop, we provide professional experience, breaking down resumes, practicing writing cover letters, mock interviews. That's something that we do. We offer a lot of one-on-ones with our alumni as well to support them and guide them as we're trying to find them placements. We do a lot of professional discussions on the different pathways, how to adapt transferable skills. It's a really big thing this year for the industry as it's coming back. And it's just amazing to see how resilient our cohorts have been, how well they have endured this time. And I think how they've placed at NBC and PBS and all of these production companies and all of these gigs really speaks to not only how talented they are, but how smart and enduring and persevering they are. And with that, I would like to turn it back to Philip, where we can actually talk to a few of our alumni cohort members, where we can learn more about their experiences at Venice Arts.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Ajani. And thank the panelists for joining us. Before we get into the panel discussion, I just want to lay a little bit of the groundwork here. So, the power of what Ajani, Julie, Janice have done is really to turn the apple cart upside down in a way, which is to say there's an immense amount of talent across Los Angeles of individuals that want to get into the entertainment business, whether they're trying to get into marketing, trying to get into a PA role, trying to get into any aspect of what touches the films and the shows that Johnny's mentioned and showed us at the beginning of this discussion. And really by structuring it around on-the-job training, their pre-apprenticeship program, their apprenticeship program, have given individuals the structure and the framework to get into the industry in an effective and an efficient way, right? So everybody that we're going to talk to today, JJ, Melanie, and Jalen, have gone through the Venice Arts pre-apprenticeship program. So the pre-apprenticeship program is really a truncated learning opportunity for them to build the foundation of walking into an MBC and being successful. And then when we talked to JJ, we talked to Jalen, they have actually entered into apprenticeship programs and have taken that pre-apprenticeship experience and now deployed it in a full-time job type of role where day in and day out, they're doing the typical things that you would see a PA or a video editor or a video technician or somebody in the entertainment industry doing on a day-to-day basis, but they're also learning at the same time. So the power of the apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship, work-based learning model is really in the ability to take people like JJ, Melanie, Jalen, Julie, people that really want to break into this industry, give them the structure of on-the-job training and learning to deploy those skills and to learn quickly and to become ultimately at the end of the day for a company like NBC Universal or others, very important members of the team. So if you're an employer that's on the call today, looking at folks like the ones we have on the panel today should be incredibly inspiring to think about workforce development in a different way and really to say yes to programs like Venice Arts and to pre-apprenticeships and to apprenticeships. But with that, I'm going to bring my panelists into the discussion here. Just by way of introduction, we have JJ Tulibao, who is a Venice Arts alum, video editing apprentice, jack of all trades. We've met Julie Fan, who is a Venice Arts pre-apprenticeship alumni. To toot her horn a little bit more, is a current apprentice with Venice Arts and is crushing it. We have Jalen Carter, who was also a pre-apprenticeship alum and video technician apprentice. And we have Melanie Dees, who also went through the DSP pre-apprenticeship program as well. So welcome all of you. Thank you for joining us for this discussion. Johnny, I'm going to put you on the spot since you're the one that brought us all together here and are, to a large extent, the man who kind of conceptualized a lot of the reason why we're here. I want to ask you a question. You've been so instrumental in supporting apprentices, pre-apprentices, and helping organizations launch their own programs. I want to start off by asking you why. Why would you utilize the on-the-job training structure, whether it's a pre-apprenticeship or a full-fledged apprenticeship model? And why do you think it fits well within the confines of the broader entertainment industry?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, I think now more than ever, access is a big deal. If you have it, because a lot of people don't. A lot of belts are tightening around the industry. A lot of layoffs are happening. So, it's probably the hardest time it's ever been, or at least in a long time, to really get started. So if you're not coming from a top, film school that already has a pipeline into a lot of great entry level jobs, you're kind of out of luck, right? I've seen friends of mine that have gone through programs like that have been able to really get their early experience and know what they want to do and have that flexibility in their careers. So programs like ours, it's a way for people to really get into the door and to figure out, what's really for them, which I think has been great for a lot of folks, and especially the ones on this call today. But I think, the biggest ingredient for me is intentionality. When we partner with folks in creating pathways and apprenticeship models, um, with the understanding that, this is about real world readiness and creative growth. It's about not just giving folks busy work, but like meaningful responsibilities, stuff that they can really use to really juice the beginning of their career and really allow them to embrace mentorship as well. We pair folks with mentors. We work with a host of organizations that can provide mentors for us, or we try to make sure that our employers that we're working with are really on the ground and open to mentorship, because a lot of these folks, this is going to be their first time really on set or in a marketing firm, right? In a production house, right? So we try to build a structure that includes the checkpoints, the feedback loops, and space for reflection. So that's a little bit of the how and the why.
I love that. I love that, Johnny. You mentioned on a couple of things I want to double click on really quickly before we bring Jalen, Melanie, Julie into the call. You mentioned mentorship. You mentioned kind of the learning component. For folks that may be on the call today that are in the entertainment industry, don't know much about apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeships or on-the-job training models, can you maybe talk a little bit about some of the key ingredients for a successful pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship program?
Sure. I mean, I can start with the pre-apprenticeship program. I think some of the key ingredients are, it depends on what industry that you're in, but you really need to embrace the industry leaders and really involve them in the development of it. You need to make sure that these stakeholders know, you know, like that a lot of these folks are coming in with, not a lot of, they need to know that a lot of these folks are intro, to this space, right? So whatever you build within the pre-apprenticeship program, it needs to include those soft skills. It needs to include a lot of the elements of the jobs that they are going to be going into. So you don't want to just drop them off in a marketing firm and they've never really built anything that has to do with marketing, right? That's why we make sure that a lot of the folks that come through here can cover a lot of the bases. Some folks come in and think that they want to do one thing, but then they realize, oh no, I think I want to, get into the documentary space. So, through learning how to create documentaries and, our curriculum is really uh we work with our employers to make sure that our curriculum is up to date, and that it's not kind of outdated information. So when they jump into opportunities like PBS SoCal, they're ready and they're over prepared, I would say. I was just at PBS a few weeks ago, and the head of their program said that our recent alumni, Joseph Godslaw, he was actually teaching the other interns how to um, uh, how to really put together a production. So not only is he getting a lot of that hands-on experience inside of PBS, right, but he's also really giving them a lot of value as well because we like to over prepare. We don't like to under prepare. And I think with folks trying to work with pre-apprenticeship programs to create apprenticeship pathways, I think it's really all about just kind of working with us and holding a dialogue. We're our phones are always on, our emails are always open, and we love to just really connect with employers and really understand what do they need? How can we make the opportunity beneficial for both the employer and the apprentice. We also just offer on-the-job training opportunities that are for both apprenticeship, but also just for regular old jobs, So we try to work with employers and kind of see where they are and how we can get them to a place that can allow them to both access wage offsets that can make it even more viable for them to work with our apprentices and also um, just really have a great experience with us and learn how to create a mentorship kind of pipeline within their organization that doesn't put a weight on managers, but really makes the entire opportunity a better experience for both the employer and the apprentice in their entry level role.
Love it. Thank you, Johnny. So I'm gonna bring the apprentices, pre-apprentices into the chat now. I'd love to hear maybe Melanie from you about you were in the pre-apprenticeship program. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what was a typical day like for you going through the program as a participant?
So a typical day was usually that we would come in and we're immediately getting the ball rolling. We had amazing teachers like Jackie and Bridget who would usually have a specific lesson for that day. So maybe it was something about like cinematography, and we would go through and look at examples and we will like hear about like different cinematographers and what they did to get into the industry, and also hear about like their own experience in that, or like whether they have relationships with cinematographers. And then we would go out and essentially try to make a story that has something to do with that lesson. So with cinematography, it's like, okay, we're not using sound. It's all about making the story and making it visually like pleasing and aesthetic, and using basically like cinematography like rules, like the rule of thirds or things like that, to make a whole story basically. And so we'll go out and film for about a few hours and come back and edit, and then we'll have a story and we'll usually like watch it the next day.
Great. So a lot of actual hands-on learning, getting into the nitty-gritty of how a production actually comes together. Love that. As Johnny mentioned, giving you the actual skills that you're going to need when you walk into a full-time job within the industry. I love that. Very, very insightful. Jalen, JJ, I'd love to bring you into the discussion now. So both of you are either in an apprenticeship right now or have graduated and moved on to a different full-time job. I'd love to hear maybe from both of you, one at a time, how your pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship program experience prepared you for your next role after that apprenticeship experience.
I can go first, Jalen. Yeah, no, the pre-apprenticeship at Venice Arts really helped with a lot of time management responsibility, considering like it was kind of like my first ever like job type environment outside of school. Before that, it was very much like school learning and all that, but Venice Arts really helped prepare me for like a more like rigid schedule, as well as like working outside of like structured hours. So that was really important to me when I eventually landed the NBC Universal apprenticeship, where I got to be an editing apprentice. And skills from that job obviously translated when I came back to Venice Arts, and now I work there as a TA.
Great. Jalen, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think well, with Venice Arts, uh I believe like with the pre-apprenticeship program, I got to work with we got to work in well, a large variety of people on different types of projects every day. So it was kind of like every day we were doing a new project or experiencing something new. So when I went to NBC Universal, I was working on set for the first time. It was kind of like every day was new because everything was new to me. So I feel like Venice Arts really prepared me to embrace newness and not be overwhelmed by not necessarily having the knowledge, but coming in with the openness to learn.
I love that. And maybe a question, Jalen, for yourself, JJ, Melanie, you as well. So we talked a little bit about like the skills you developed. Maybe can each of you just say like, what was the top one or two technical or soft skills that you developed through your pre-apprenticeship, and for the couple of you that have been in an apprenticeship or graduated, kind of what were those specific skills that you acquired through that experience? Maybe Jalen, start with you, then we'll go to JJ and then Melanie.
Yeah, I would say technically, I think I definitely improved on my editing and my organization uh, in filmmaking at Venice Arts, whether it's organizing video files or planning out shots and things like that. Um, then soft skills, I think I developed uh, a lot better with my interpersonal skills and things like that at Venice Arts.
Great.
Yeah, I'll go with in terms of the technical side, a lot of hands-on camera work. I think that's not really my field, but Venice Arts still like allowed me to practice and work on those skills, which even though that's not like a field I want to pursue in, it's still good to have that foundational knowledge in that area. And then in terms of like soft skills, like I mentioned, like time management, but also of course communications. A big one, it's always good to practice, and Venice Arts gives you a lot of practice to like work with others and communicate, and that obviously helped me when I went on with my editing apprenticeship. And a lot of my time there was spent in just like meeting rooms and like talking with everyone, and a lot of the pre-production process and the post-production process. So yeah, I think those would be my two choices there.
Great. Melanie,
Uh, oh, sorry. So for me, I'm still am attending school while I was doing the apprenticeship. So a lot of the technical skills were nicely complemented with what I was already learning at school. So things such as sound and camera, like what I was learning at Venice Arts helped me better be able to understand what was going on while I was attending school. And in terms of like soft skills, I would say really like time management. As I mentioned earlier, we would film a project the day and it would need to be done by the next day so we can all like review it and watch it. And again, as I'm going to school, we have like a very high turnover. It's like we need to have something planned and shot and edited and ready to be exported and watched within like the next few days. So I would say Venice Arts really helped me with that, organize my thoughts and be able to like just have like a really good turnover and be efficient while also be like creative.
love that. Insightful. Thank you. Johnny, maybe to bring you back into the conversation, and I'd love to ask you this question. And Janice, if you have thoughts on this as well, I'd love to pull you from the sidelines into the panel discussion. But we talked a little bit about the impact of the pre-apprenticeship on the skills and aptitudes of the pre-apprentices and the apprentices. I want to turn the tables a little bit to the employer perspective, which is to say, Venice Arts, NBCUniversal, large organizations helping the industry grow. In your mind, what are some of the types of roles within the entertainment industry that would be well suited for the structure of an apprenticeship or an on-the-job training program?
Well, I guess I can jump in first. I think I can speak from the nonprofit side because a lot of our employers are also just media nonprofits, folks that are building out training programs and are more on the educational side. I think, teaching artists, teaching assistant, folks that like program coordinator, that was a really great experience with Julie, because it's really about kind of figuring out how you can build out that network in the community, and it's not always easy because there's a lot of soft skills that are important, and figuring out how to really meet people where they are, and really try to expand, the reach of the program. We try to get a couple hundred applicants for every session. So, it's a lot of follow-up, and a lot of what I think she learned early on in the apprenticeship experience, was really handy for when we were actually doing it. So it's not theoretical, it's pretty practical. And it was great to also just be an employer and to be on the Build Within software and see kind of uh how she was, building up her personal kind of repertoire and of skills, and to see those activities that she was doing. So then I was up to date, and I could be even more confident, right, that she was doing well and excelling. And I think, production assistant in development, on set and post are really great roles as well. Um, and yeah, I think even folks that are, in representation, I think a lot of our folks also go into the mailroom as well and become agent trainees. And, I know a lot of folks who are either agents or managers who have, or just working, as execs around town, who have gone through the mailroom. But, I think it's a learning experience that can sometimes be a bit hectic, so I think if there is a way to build an apprenticeship pathway in that, for that as well, I think it'll be pretty beneficial.
Janice, any thoughts about kind of roles within NBC Universal or more broadly that are ripe for kind of the on-the-job training apprenticeship model?
Oh, sure. I think what's great about our company is that, our saying is here you can. So you can actually start from anywhere and be able to come over and within and have transferable skills that can lead you to be coming from a PA, into marketing or acquisitions or in DEI or in different departments. So it's definitely, I think, a lot more open, because when you're an apprentice, you are becoming a team player. You're very scrappy, you're resourceful, you're taking direction, you're working sometimes longer hours, you're doing a lot of collaboration. And those are the things I think that could go into really any role. But from a production standpoint, at our company, we have scripted, unscripted, as well as live events. And so we've been able to see those apprentices who are from, more of the standard kind of production, or maybe more of the video editing, also be able to take those skills and apply them into roles here at the company. So I think it's very open, and it's an opportunity to just put your best foot forward, learning what you've learned from Venice Arts or with any other the other nonprofits that we work with, from training programs, to be able to come here at NBC Universal and do great work.
I love that. But thank you. So let's maybe turn it back a little bit to the apprentices and pre-apprentices. Julie, I'm going to bring you in here a little bit. So you're going through your apprenticeship currently. Can you talk a little bit about the mix of on-the-job training and the coursework? So like the tasks that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, as well as the coursework that you're doing to develop that skill set and understanding. Can you kind of give folks a understanding of what that looks like for you day to day?
Sure, absolutely. So as an apprentice at Venice Arts, I have a predominantly entertainment background. I was working in TV prior to this. And so when I came into Venice Arts, I said that I wanted to build more of a program management background, transferable skills. How do I transfer working in a production office to working in a community-based organization? And so a lot of the coursework was, reviewing your administrative work, administrative programs, and then also how do I utilize my, also marketing background to translate that into communications with the community? How do I communicate with the program cohorts? How do I communicate with the communities that these students are coming from when it comes to recruitment? How do I do outreach? I used to intern and work in PR. And so just adapting that and learning, I did a lot of like community coursework of being mindful, being open-minded, how to address different communities, how to address students of different backgrounds, how to address people from marginalized backgrounds, how do I connect with people and get them to see this program for what it is. And so that's been my on the job training. That has been my transitioning. How do I use all of these corporate skills and production skills that I have and translate that into community outreach? And on the day-to-day, it differs when I'm working with the pre-apprenticeship versus when we're off season. So right now I'm off season. I'm back to doing much more community outreach, catching up with alumni, doing one-on-ones, seeing where everyone is at, filling in the gaps, right? We've already finished the fellowships. And so what's the next job, right? Like it's important to land your first job and break in, but then how do you prepare for the second and the third? And so, we're planning on hosting workshops soon to do like soft skills refreshers, to do mock interviews, to do resume reviews. And this is something that I will often do with students one-on-one. And so that's what we do off the season. That's my day-to-day, along with, of course, administrative work, data organization, collecting data. And then during the pre-apprenticeship, while that's taking place, I take more on of a more traditional program coordinator, program manager role, where I'm in the classroom with the students. I'm checking in with the teachers. I'm seeing what the needs are, and especially given the current climate of the industry, of the economy, of politics, we had prepared for that initially. We knew that there was going to be a lot more need this time around with wraparound services. And so, this is my production skills coming in. How do I prepare? How can I anticipate what might happen? And using that in a community-based perspective. Who are people that can help us? Are there law firms that are offering certain resources? Are there food banks, especially with the wildfires happening? How can we help our students so that they can be present and be here and make the most of this opportunity and really gain something from it? So during the pre-apprenticeship, that's more of the role that I take on, much more hands-on, where I'm working with the students directly, with the teachers directly, and also making sure that, like Ajani said, that the skills they're learning is relevant. This industry has integrated with tech. Things are constantly changing. Technology is constantly changing. Of course, the standards and the formats don't, but there's always new technology. Like, Adobe has AI now. That's new. That's something that, we want to introduce to our students, make sure that they're prepared as they enter the industry, and not just that they're prepared, but that they're over prepared. Like our intern, Joseph, who's at PBS, clearly is excelling because he came in more than prepared. And that's how we want our students to be. That's how we want them to not just represent us, but themselves.
Amazing. Thank you, Julie. I'm going to stick with the pre-apprentices and apprentices for one more question here. So I've come to understand a couple of things from you all. Number one, it sounds like your pre-apprenticeship program gave you the tangible skills and developed your skills to a point where you were able to go into either a full-time job or an official apprenticeship program and apply those skills in a way where you kept learning, but you were able to contribute on a day-to-day basis to the success of the team, to the mission of the organization. And you all are doing amazing things in your career to date, either even well after your apprenticeship or your pre-apprenticeship. I guess the question for each one of you I'd love to explore is what would you say to somebody, we have a lot of folks on the call today that are either employers or that are looking to get more information on apprenticeships or pre-apprenticeships or skills-based hiring, or young individuals, career changers that are looking to see if a pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship is a good fit for them. What would you say to somebody out there that is thinking about a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship as the next step in their career? Maybe we'll start with Melanie first here.
Hi. Could you repeat the question? I don't
Sure.
think I will grab
Yeah,
it
so
all.
what would you say to somebody, a friend of yours that said, hey, Melanie, you went through a pre-apprenticeship, went through a program. What would you say to somebody that's thinking about getting into a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship program?
I would definitely recommend it. I would say a lot of pre-apprenticeships that I've come across, such as this one, and even other ones that I've done or been in or heard from other people, they are there to help bridge the gap and help be the bridge to get you into the door. So there are like people that were in my cohort that some people already had the skills, that was needed to be in the film industry. Some of these people had already even graduated from film school, but they didn't have the resources or the connections to actually get employment. So sometimes a pre-apprenticeship is just there to like maybe expand on what you already know and even help you get your foot in the door, really be like the pipeline to finally get into the industry because as we know in the film industry it really is who you know rather than what you know. So it's definitely like a good way to really like get folks that do not have the resources, do not have the connections or the people to get a job even if they are skillful to get there themselves. Yes.
I love that. Jalen, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I recommend the Venice Arts all the time when I'm talking to friends and stuff like that because I tell them I'm like in my journey for like as many like different opportunities and different things I've done, it all comes back to Venice Arts and being a part of this pre-apprenticeship program in a great organization. Um, I would say that it is um, it is a great resource to have and both like for the community and for the skills that you gain from these apprenticeship programs. It's very difficult industry to navigate and figure out and having that this sort of central hub of people that you can go to ask questions, whether it's the actual administrators themselves or your fellow cohort participants and alumni from the program, it's very comforting to know that there's other people that are going through the same thing that you are, and they may also know ways to help you out. So it's like being part of a network and a family or some extended thing.
I love that. Thank you, Jalen. JJ, any thoughts on what you would say to somebody that is looking at a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship as a career vehicle for themselves?
Yeah, of course. I'm almost sad you asked me last because the Jalen and Melanie basically said what I wanted to say. To echo what Melanie said, like it's a great like bridge before like going into like an entry level job because it's the first ever like training I ever did post college was Venice Arts pre-apprenticeship, and I think it's a great like transitionary period for someone to like get their feet wet and get the skills needed. To move on to an entry level job. And then to echo what Jalen said, like what I wanted to talk about was the community and the people I've met through Venice Arts and my apprenticeship. It's very important to like network with all these people. And it's also nice to have like a family that you can connect with and like get other opportunities from. I've got the chance to work on a bunch of sets from people I've met through my apprenticeship as well. So I think those are the really like key selling points, I think, for an apprenticeship program like this. So yeah.
Alignment from the crew. I love it. I love it. Thank you all for sharing that. So I'm going to turn the tables a little bit. Johnny, on you and Johnny's as well. We've heard from apprentices, pre-apprentices. Now I'd love to hear from the two of you, both leaders in the field of workforce development and on-the-job training and apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. What if there are companies on the call today that are interested or exploring pre-apprenticeships or apprenticeships? Kind of what would you say to them if they're hesitant to start a program? And maybe Johnny, start with you since you're off mute.
Sure. I mean, I would probably say, don't let the idea of building a program overwhelm you. I know like it can seem daunting. I think it might have even been for us, right, if we didn't already kind of see it from the other side, right? I have a lot of folks that I know that when I initially pitched this to them, they're like, "Ooh, that sounds like a lot of work," but it doesn't have to be. That's what we're here for, right? So we've already built the structure. We have the training, we have the support systems in place, we have the partners. What we really need from you is a willingness to open the door, right? It's about the willingness to kind of offer these entry level roles these training opportunities, and trust that that will walk alongside you as you do so, and really the impact that you can get from something like this is real. Like I had a great experience personally. And it really just kind of takes weight off of you rather than putting it on you. It just gives you tools to then make sure that your new hire is succeeding on a high level. Um, and what I've learned from working with pipelines like Venice Arts, and I worked in workforce development for a number of years now, prior to being here full time, is that these pipelines are full of talented, qualified individuals that are really hungry to learn, and they're ready to really give value to the places that they are. And I think they really reflect the future of the industry. And if I'm right, I think that future is bright.
I love that. Thank you, Johnny. Janice, any thoughts for employers thinking about?
Yeah, I would just say, I think it's important to just start with the end in mind. And like Ajani said, these are individuals who have been trained and are qualified, they've been vetted, and they have the upskills, so they are ready for hire. They're ready for a paid hands-on experience. So I think just working with your, employment law teams as well as your labor teams is important to create that strategy, but you also want to find a partner where it's going to be mutually beneficial. So like Ajani said, we love working with Venice Arts. They were actually already working with another division at our company, with the Creative Impact Lab. And after they were able to complete that, it was like, well, what's next for them? So they came over to launch, and we were able to create this pipeline between the production assistant initiative. So I think in this case, it's kind of like, Venice Arts opened the door, NBCUniversal opened the rest. And so I think when you're able to create this opportunity from one division to another, they're now being, across our ecosystem for hire. And now they've had two experiences at NBCUniversal. So I think for employers, just again, trying to connect the dots and, be a great resource for a nonprofit who has an apprentice program. Think about not just one way they can work with your company, think about all the ways they could work with your company.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank everybody on the panel for sharing your experiences and your insights. And with that, Johnny, I'm gonna hand it back to you.
Well, thank you, Phil, for moderating. I think what we just heard from everyone kind of reinforces what we know well here at Venice Arts, is pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships, as a model that works. I think BuildWithin knows that as well, more than anybody. For employers, this isn't just about just kind of giving people a shot and in charity. It's about, as I said, accessing well-trained folks from a diverse talent pool that are ready to um, contribute on a high level, on day one. So if you want to engage with us, you can reach me at ajani@venicearts.org. There are many different ways to engage. If you want to hire our pre-apprenticeship graduates directly into entry-level roles, that's an option. You can also partner with us on panels and mentorship opportunities. You can work with us and BuildWithin to design custom apprenticeship pathways that are suited towards your specific workforce needs. You can also create internships and other on-the-job training roles while also leveraging wage offsets as well, that can allow you to bring on folks even if it might not have been financially advisable without those offsets in place. Um, and we can cover the first few months potentially of a full-time placement. Um, but our job is to really make this process easy for you, mutually beneficial, and high impact. And we're here to walk you through it every step of the way. But we now love to hear from you. If you haven't yet done so, dropping your questions in the Q&A chat, that would be great. I already have three that were sent to me ahead of time that I'll read ahead. These are more so just for Julie and I. But feel free to direct your questions to me, Julie, Philip, or any of our other amazing alumni panelists. So the first of the three questions that I have, and Julie, you can go after me, is how do you make sure pre-apprentices are ready to step onto a set or into a fast-paced production environment? Um, and I'd say that our training is really designed to mimic, real pace and expectations. That's why even in the beginning, when people first get here, they are tasked with, uh, you have to shoot this, by the end of the day, edit it, and come back and screen, right? So it's really to kind of allow them to learn what kind of a really fast-paced environment looks like, what they really might encounter in real industry life. And they learn everything from set etiquette and production timelines, how to work together in groups and problem solve under pressure. And we also bring in guest professionals and we work with the Emotion Picture Foundation to bring in mentors who've had incredible careers that go up to about 40 years or 50 years in the industry, who are now retired, who are now returning to work with us to really bring in that next group of folks into that next generation. And we use project-based learning to simulate those real world conditions on top of that mentorship. But do you have anything to add, Julie?
Sure. I just want to echo the sentiments of how the program runs as well. We are a very fast-paced program. If you think about it, 8 weeks is not a long time. It's basically like a full year of filmmaking condensed into 8 weeks. Imagine like you're taking like a summer course. And the way that we run this program, it's not just about doing workshops. It's not just about learning the technical skills. It's about doing a multitude of things all at the same time. And so we throw our students in there. And the biggest thing that I always tell the students is this is the place to make mistakes. And so we teach them how to multitask. We are constantly bombarding them with multiple projects, making sure that they're showing on time. And, there's also consequences to not showing on time, to falling behind on projects and such. But the most important thing is that we create that space where you can learn from it, instead of this being your first job. And often people are thrown into an entry-level job and they're like, what do I do? They're not given the training, they're not given the resources. There's this expectation that they should know everything already coming in. And so we mimic that kind of environment, but make sure that there is space to learn, to grow, to reflect. That is a really big thing. Our teaching staff does an amazing job. Shout out to JJ. He does a lot of this where he checks in with students personally and, says at the end of the day, okay, so today wasn't a great day. How can we be better? How do we step into tomorrow and do better? How can we show up on time? How can we show up as our best self? And so I think that's a very unique aspect of our apprenticeship that really ensures that once they graduate from this cohort, that they're ready to work.
Amazing. This next question is what kinds of entry-level roles are your grads landing? And like we said earlier, mostly production assistants. That can be in development and on set and post. That's where a lot of our folks go into when they're in the post-production houses or the editorial houses. People also become executive assistants, um, creators, to help companies really build out their online media presence. And others are moving into archive roles as well and other client services. And our last question is for Julie and I. Do you offer support after the apprenticeship ends? So, our graduates are, they stay in our ecosystem. So we have folks that we still talk to that graduated maybe in 2020 or 2021 that we still talk to. So it's really about making sure that they don't, fall on their face when they get out there, because it's always a learning a gradual learning opportunity. Every new job, I know that well. I come from the film industry as well. Julie does as well. So we know that it's people are always learning, so we're here to really help them continue to build out their network and participate in professional development workshops here, alumni networking opportunities. Julie put together an incredible mixer that we're going to be having on Wednesday, so tomorrow, with about hundreds of folks that are across the industry that our alumni are going to be able to access as well. So when they, we're not just helping them get a job here, we're really helping them build a career, you know. But a lot of those one-on-ones and a lot of that direct alumni engagement is through Julie. So she can speak more to that.
Sure. I don't want to take up too much time. I understand we're on a time crunch. I think the most difficult aspect of entering this workforce as a young adult is figuring out how to be an adult and also getting a job at the same time. And so, of course, a lot of the one-on-ones I often will cover any updated resumes. Given my background in a multitude of different departments within the film industry, I'm able to help curate different types of resumes, CVs, corporate resumes, production resumes. But also aside from all of the work stuff like mock interviews and helping you find jobs, I also help students a lot with practicing their soft skills. How do you reach out to network? How do you follow up after an interview? What kind of body language do you carry yourself in these spaces? How do you find events to network? Or how do you balance life and finding jobs at the same time? And to be honest, I don't have any of the answers per se. I am looking for those answers myself. But I think the important thing is having someone to talk it with, to brainstorm with, to really, I really serve as a sounding board for our alumni as we figure out what is the answer for you, right? Everyone's answer is different. That's something you hear so often in the entertainment industry. Everyone's path is unique. And so what is it that works for you? And that's really my role when I work with alumni after they graduate from our program is, what is your path? You have 8 different paths that you can take. Which is the one for you?
And on that note, thank you once again to all of our participants, to NBC, to our incredible alumni, to BuildWithin. We really could not have done it without you. Yeah, I think anyone that wants to reach out directly to me again, Johnny at VeniceArts.org. We're actively supporting